I got really, really good. The most transactions I probably sold is probably like 5 homes in 1 month. But then going forward after that, I just wanted to supplement something on the slow months because obviously during the market, it's very up and down, up and down. And that's what's awesome about the life insurance industry is that there aren't many people who are able to buy a $500,000 home or sell their $500,000 home, but there's a lot of people able to buy a $50 policy, a $60 policy. And so that's kind of what I saw to just add to my tool belt.
Everybody, we're sitting here today with Ms. Desiree Blas. She's coming to us live from Tacoma, Washington. She is a very successful realtor who has, how many homes have you sold, rented? How many real estate transactions have you been involved in since you started being a realtor?
Oh my gosh, I don't know the number, but definitely multiple millions in volume.
Multiple millions in volume. So
right.
The word successful would be a word that we would put underneath her bio. And in time, what success, there's a great line. Successful people are always looking for more ways to become more successful. And a great secondary line is busy people are all right. If you want something done, give it to a busy person because they know how to manage their time. So it's interesting to see someone who's managed, a huge volume of real estate transactions goes, you know what I want to do? I want to start selling insurance to strangers, right? But you go, they've got leads, the compensation's fantastic. I could build up a renewal stream. I could build a team. And the market seems to be pretty steady comparative to what's happening in the real estate market with mortgages and the ability to people to get loans and how hard it is to get money these days. So I loved seeing your numbers and seeing how you're progressing, to see over 200 families protected last year in person. And I love to get your story and have everybody kind of meet you and, hear whom you are and learn more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you for having me on the call. It's such a full circle moment because when I was a struggling new agent, my first few months in, I wanted to quit multiple times, to be completely honest. And so I would turn on your training videos, and that was like the one thing that just kept me going during all the no-shows, the drive time. So thank you so much. I'm just so honored to be on the call. But yeah, so my background, my real estate background, I got licensed in 2019. And I always tell people I don't know how many people are in commission-based sales, obviously who are in FFL, but someone who's new tuning in, it's very hard. Commission-based sales is super hard. So, but if you do know, commission-based sales produce or people in the financial industry produces the most millionaires in America for a reason. So knowing that you eat what you kill, I was always intrigued by that. And so in real estate, my first year, it took me like 6 to 7 months to sell my first home. And what sucks too is I was at a 50% comp during my first home. And so it was awesome to get that under my belt. I got really, really good. The most transactions I probably sold is probably like 5 homes in 1 month. But then going forward after that, I just wanted to supplement something on the slow months because obviously during the market, it's very up and down, up and down. And that's what's awesome about the life insurance industry is that there aren't many people who are able to buy a $500,000 home or sell their $500,000 home, but there's a lot of people able to buy a $50 policy, a $60 policy. And so that's kind of what I saw to just add to my tool belt. And since then, I got introduced, I saw a social media post from one of my buddies, Warm Market. So guys, Warm Market works. He posted something and I was like, oh, what is this? And then the rest is kind of history. I was like, look, dude, I want to focus on real estate. I'm just going to put my head down. I want to do this insurance thing part-time. And then I just fell in love with meeting people. I fell in love with helping people and just seeing myself kind of transform. Like I learned a lot in real estate, but I kid you not, I learned so much more in life insurance. So I love it. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's, have you sold any real estate transactions from meeting people in insurance?
A couple, yeah.
There you go.
And mortgage protection. There's a couple mortgage protection ones too. I have a $1 million listing right now that's still on the market. The market's still kind of slow. And so that's what's awesome. Like put it on the market and now I'm just like hammering hard in insurance. So, but yeah.
How cool. That's fun. I mean, that's the, there's nothing, and people will go, well, shouldn't you be focused? And it's like, no, like you can manage multiple things. Like your job is that you get it up on the MLS, and then you do a couple open houses, and then you nurture the leads and talk to the client in 30, 60, 90 days. Go, maybe we need to drop it 2%. We need to get it. We need to get an 8 in front of it. And they go, I don't want to get an 8 in front of it. I want to keep a 999 in front of it. And no, you manage that. And then, but while you're waiting, and, I mean, I'm a victim, I think, like many who've watched probably every episode of $1 Million Listing LA and New York, and I'm a Josh Altman and a Ryan Serhant fan, but then I'm like, the stress of like having a 13 or $17 million listing and the pressure. I mean, it's all relative to what you want and what the goals and what the payoff is. But just like you said, don't underestimate the $50, $60, $70 policies that pay us in 24 to 48 hours, right? You get rich in this business by hitting singles and teaching people how to hit singles and doubles, right? Occasionally there's a big IUL, occasionally there's an annuity, and those are fantastic paydays. And we're going to talk more about those as the weeks and months progress, at least within our agency. But just like you said, I mean, you've got a $1 million listing, that's a home run. That's going to be fun when it finally comes to the table. But diversifying your income as a person, as a father, as a mother, as a business owner, as someone who provides for other people is a very cool way to look at how I'm approaching my daily life. And so for anyone else out there that's successful in other avenues, right? Spring follows winter, summer follows spring, fall follows summer, and there's always winter, right? If any Game of Thrones fan, winter is coming. Winter always comes, right? Yeah. And winter seems to kind of be a season in mortgages and real estate right now, but it's still kind of like late spring for insurance agents. It's kind of like always late spring, fall. So I loved hearing your insight on how you're doing. I had a conversation with a guy one time who came in and he killed it, right? Came in, killed it, 50, 80 families in his first, second month, but was all enamored with real estate. And I got him to Mark Mead, and Mark Mead's like, dude, I've done the wholesaling, I've done the fix and flips, I bought multi-unit, I've bought big houses, I've flipped mansions, I've done all these things, and I made some money. And he goes, you're enamored right now with the sexiness of real estate because it's architecture and it's granite and it's waterfall islands and it's, fancy fixtures and, stainless steel appliances and sub-zero refrigerators and all this stuff that's just stuff versus coming here in singles. And I remember that I haven't thought of it till now, just interviewing you. And the guy left and went and did real estate. He got crushed. And I'm not gonna name his name, and he came back, and now he's built a very successful agency with us. But it's just so funny hearing those things. But if you continue to work the leads, which is, people go, how do you guys have leads? And it's like, well, we fortunately live in a marketplace where people love their family, and it's a low cost entry, and the insurance companies haven't figured out how to go direct to consumer where they don't need us, and they still need us to have those emotional conversations. So talk to me about your first time selling, right? Like, I mean, you're very well spoken, you present well, but like, the first time you go in a home or the first time you try to sell insurance, like, what was that like for you?
Oh man, that was it. I knew when I came in, I was like, cool, I just get to talk to people and like go sit with them in person. I was like, okay, I could do that. But it was just kind of the structure of everything. I think I came in just like every new agent. I was like, well, I want to learn everything. I want to like make sure I'm ready to do this. I want to get all the material and all that other stuff. And so whenever I bring somebody new in, I'm like, hey guys, all you have to do is just show up here and memorize these 2 scripts. And then we're gonna do this in segments. Memorize how to dial, and then we'll talk about the in-home, and I'll help you during that process. And it's going to be like chapters, like you finish chapter 1, we can't go to chapter 2 without finishing chapter 1. And I just try to simplify it for them. And I say, hey, the structure here is very, very simple. And I've heard this in a ton of trainings, like a ton of your trainings too. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? If you want something more, nothing worthwhile is it's going to be easy. So what I'll do is I'll be here along the way, but the structure is simple. You buy leads, you dial the leads, you book the appointments, you go to your appointments, and that's pretty much it. You just keep doing it, and you're gonna suck when you get in. It's gonna be terrible. Like I said, I think I made excuses my first few appointments. I was like, oh man, I don't feel too good, I shouldn't go. And I mean, I obviously went, but it was just like you were in your own head. And that's something that I learned about in this business. It's mindset. It's 95% mindset. Some say 99%, but it's like, it's still a big chunk is your mindset. And if you know that you have the ability, if you have a heart to serve people, you're gonna do well here. If you have a heart to serve people, you're not gonna complain, you're coachable, you're gonna do really well here. But when I first started, I was too enamored by like I need to learn everything before I get in. But I tell people, hey, I'm going to be here along the way. Let's focus on these 2 steps. Then we'll move to the next few steps. And so if I could go back to my first dial day, I think I just showed up and I just kind of read the script. And then Diego was there coaching me in my ear. And then I kept doing it and I kept getting better and I kept getting better. And then the in-home, he was there. I shadowed a couple of his in-homes. I was like, cool, took notes. And you're just like a normal student who's really eager to learn. And that's kind of what I tell people, like, hey, if you really want to make a difference and you have a heart to serve people, you will do well here. Just show up and I will be here along the way. And there's so many other people who are here to help you. We just want to see you succeed. Because unfortunately, when I first got in, I was very much like, I didn't really believe that much in myself. Like I knew I was like good at like talking to people, but I was like, oh man, I don't know if I could do this and like see those big numbers on the screen. And I fortunately had leaders around me who believed in me more than I believed in myself. And so I always see that with somebody who's new. I said, I know you could do like so much here. And the only way to gain confidence if you don't have faith in yourself is to put in the reps. So I always say like cash in your confidence with activity. And so I try to like paint that picture for somebody new and like just see them like kind of fly. Like Diego always says this, like you're a little baby eagle and now you're leaving the nest type of thing. And so I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly just wanting to see people when they first get their deposits, when they go to their in-home by themselves, when they're not, you know, calling for help, or if they do, and just telling the stories of sitting there with actual families who just protected their own family.
It's fantastic. So you had early years in real estate where you started and struggled, right? 6 months till you made your first sale, X, Y, and Z. And then so you kind of had a season of understanding that if this is something we're doing, it's going to be worth sucking at in the beginning, right? So you had this, what do you see? Because you're recruiting now, building a team, new agents that don't make it. Like, what do you see that kind of cheats them out of it to almost give the group here, like, hey, when this starts to happen, just close your eyes and keep walking, right? What do you see that starts to happen to some people?
Oh man, it's the mindset. It's the faith in themselves. And it's like, you don't need we hear this all the time. Like you don't need skills to make it here. You just need to get here and be coachable. But I would just see people say like, oh, I don't know if I could do this, or I don't think I could do that. And I'm like, you definitely can. Like I have people here, and honestly, I'm like super fortunate to work with the group of people that I have here. Like one of my closest friends who battled cancer, I hope he's watching right now, but battled cancer, and he still showed up and dialed and got hung up on. And I remember coming in, we were both kind of new around the same time. And I was like, okay, I can't complain if this guy's here dialing the phone and like going in the home and he's battling cancer. And then he fought it a second time. And I have a new agent that I'm training right now, and he saw what this could do for him and his family, because he unfortunately lost his dad last year. And if his dad didn't have a policy, he would have lost the house. So like, this is real life things and real life people that I'm actually able to help. So I take it super serious. And I just like challenge people to dig deep, that life insurance is awesome. It's commission-based sales, but it's so much more. It's just so much more when you get to impact people and help people change their lives, whether it is helping their family if they die, or if it's changing their lifestyle just to get a roof over their head and stuff like that. But it's for sure the mindset, and I still work on my mindset all the time. But when I first started, where I was compared to now, just because of trainings like this and just being around the right people and like constantly coaching yourself, like, no, I know I could do this. Like if I just keep going, I'm going to have bad days. I'm going to have bad weeks. And look at it from a macro standpoint versus a micro standpoint. You're going to have a bad day, but did you have a bad week? You're going to have a bad week, but are you going to have a bad month? Okay, you got a bad month, are you going to have a bad year? And so that's like, it took me a while to like condition my mindset that way, but I always try and help people, especially new people, believe in themselves and just like look at it from a different perspective.
Any books, audios, videos,
Oh,
personal
wow.
development speakers? You know,
Oh my gosh.
any like just top 3 that, you know, not
Okay.
your favorites. Just we can all go research and try to get a little little Des energy.
Okay, for sure. I have a lot. Ed Milet for sure. He has a book called The Power of One More. I listen to a lot of his audios, or not even audios, his YouTube videos. Like search him up. He just interviewed Tim Tebow. Oh my gosh, that was like one of my favorite episodes, which I wanted to talk about a little bit here too.
Sure, we'll do. I want to do your in-home, and we'll close with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so then with Ed Milet, I listen to a lot of Alex Hormozy. I know you're a big fan of him too. He's
Big.
awesome. And then Dave Anderson is my favorite person. When I went to 2021 convention, he changed my whole life. Like everything from standards, I listen to him every day. Andy Frisello. So those people, constantly listening to audios. I driving in my downtime all the time, like all the time. You said you wanted to touch on the in-home.
Yeah, I want to ask more. Why do you think you do that? Why do you listen to audios all the time?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know that if I just, it's the whole coachability thing. Like I know I've learned a lot in this last year, but I could learn so much more. Like even conversations with you, conversations with Marissa. I know that if on my downtime, and so I'm not saying watching Netflix is a bad thing. I just know if I could utilize my time to get ahead, then I'm going to do that. Time is we don't have more time in the world. And if I don't really care about the episode of Netflix that I missed or I don't know, sometimes the events that friends want to go to. I'm like, that's awesome. That's cool. I love you, but I want to get ahead doing this or choosing to stay in and study my script more and stuff like that. If I know if I could put time into studying that and mastering my craft, I know I could continue to get ahead and get better. But if I get better, then I could help more people and I could train more new agents and the whole thing. Yeah.
There's seasons to everything, right? Today, you're in
Yeah.
a season of building, right? You're in a season of blocking out any sort of distraction that isn't hitting you towards your production and your team building goals. And there's not like at some point in your life, there may be hanging out with friends or binge watching Netflix show. If you're watching Netflix when the sun's up, you got big problems anyway. But like this is, but I think and I asked you a question because I find a lot of top people are constantly flushing their mind with positivity because life, I mean, what we get 3,000 advertisements a day, and predominantly a lot of advertisements are fear-based statements that are trying to get us to fear of loss instead of potential for gain, that type stuff. So there is a lot of negativity that's coming and swirling around us. But also, like, if anyone's here doing it a lot, like doing your business and progressing, you're constantly having new experiences and new evolutions of what you're doing, that then when you hear this outside information, it impacts you differently. Like there's audios and books and stuff I've revisited 3, 5, 7, 10, 20 years later that now hit me significantly different based on the way I think, my personal experiences, whom I've interacted with. And that's a part of it for as well, guys. Like you are a never ending, like, we're like wet cement, right? That's constantly needing to be pushed up and smoothed, because if we don't keep smoothing it, we're just going to kind of settle down to a big flat pancake. And I want to be a column. I want to be a big, strong column holding up my family. And I don't know where that analogy came from, but I think that's like where personal development and constantly seeking out new knowledge comes from, is without that information, we're softening, right? Experience, new knowledge, communicating with others who are more successful is constantly sharpening our axe and our trowel to keep the column sturdy. There we go. Wet cement versus a pancake. So, okay. Thank you. I love it. I thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to check out that Ed team and touch on the end. So, but let's transition for a second. So you protected 200 families last year in home, which is phenomenal. I protected thousands in home. And now the world uses phone sales and telesales and phone burner and call tools and Zippo and all the different things, which is wonderful. As long as clients are getting protected and you're hitting your appointment goals and the business stays on the books, no one cares how it's going down. If you're struggling on the phone, you should go in home. If you're doing fine in home and you want to diversify and do virtual, as long as it doesn't impact your numerical goals you set out for yourself, your family, and your business each week, as long as the numbers are going the right direction or sustaining, right, then keep doing it. So, but I love hearing about what you're doing now. And so I'm going to pass it to you, and I want you to go car door to application, what you say, what you do, and how you're getting the numbers that you're getting.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Well, it all starts with obviously with our dial days, setting up those full appointment days. When I first started, that's what I struggled with. I think I would put, I don't know, only 4 appointments and then cry about all the no-shows and the cancellations or no one being there. And then if you really set yourself up for success for that next run day, you have 8 to 10 appointments that specific day, and then another 8 to 10 the next one, you will find success. So what I do is, one, we have to get good on the phones and fill your day, or it's going to suck. It will suck if you don't fill your day. And I always tell people that, like, guys, if you just get better on the phones and make sure you don't leave until you have your full day of appointments, then you're gonna make some money here. Okay. And then so we will, when we're prepping for the in-home, I have like folders. I think I brought it out for you guys to see, but I prep everything the night before. And I have like an in-home folder right here. And so I'll kind of show you, I'll like do the whole thing. I'll knock on the door. Whoever opens the door, I'm like, hey, cool, let's find a table. I just go straight to finding the table. And if they don't have a table, like, cool, is there somewhere I could put my paperwork down? And so we'll go in and then I'll just say, hey, brief introduction. Hey, I'm Desiree, I'm the insurance underwriter. We spoke on the phone yesterday. I help a lot of people with traditional life insurance. And then I'll go into like the 3 reasons and I'll explain that to them as, hey, most of the people that I end up helping and sitting with, they want to focus on one of 3 reasons. The first one is they don't have anything set up for their funeral final expense. So they don't want their family paying thousands and thousands of dollars out of pocket. 2, it's some kind of income replacement. You want to make sure your family still has a roof over their head and food on their table. If you were to die tomorrow, what is that going to look like? And then 3, maybe you have all of that. You just want to leave a gift behind for your family. Of those 3, what was your primary concern? And I'll like pause. And then they'll say whatever they say. And I'm like, okay, awesome. And then I want a beneficiary name. So I quickly transition over to awesome. I'm glad, like, let's see what I could do to help you here. So if you died tomorrow, who is the main person picking up the pieces? So I want a name. I'm going to use that name throughout the whole appointment. Oh, it's my daughter, Sarah. Okay, cool. So Sarah, is she here in Washington or is she in California? Where is she at? And then I want that background story, because if Sarah's in, I don't know, the East Coast, what is that going to look like for Sarah if you died tomorrow? Does she have a family? Is she going to fly her family here? She's going to take time off work. And so I'll even say some of my clients want to make sure that their daughter or son is not paying that extra cost, and they want to cover everything. I'm assuming that's what you were wanting to do, right? And then they're like, oh yes, of course. And I want to hear the yes. And then I transition over to, okay, awesome. So I want that direction of the why. Then I bring my little handy dandy like folder out, and then I'll bring my state license, and I'll be like, cool. So, hey, this is my state license. Right here's the license number. That's the government website, just for you to verify I am who I say I am. I quickly move it away and I say, hey, all that this license allows me to do is I have access to all of these different insurance carriers. Okay. So this is the credibility sheet that's on FFL America. And then I'll simply say, hey, these are all the best of the best. They're A-rated, they're top rated. I want you to know that I'm not loyal to any of these companies. I'm loyal to you, the person that I'm sitting with, okay? And then I'll say, hey, I know you've seen State Farm and Allstate. You walk into there, they can only show you what they have. Now, I only care about getting my clients approved because I know you might know this, but you can't just buy insurance. You got to qualify for it. And I'll really press hard on that because I want them to know, hey, dude, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here as an underwriter to qualify you for something. So then I'll say all of that stuff and I'll be like, I'll say, you get what I'm saying, or, you understand. I want to see them nod and hit yes. And so I'll say, cool, I have 2 objectives today. I want to see which one of these might most likely approve you. And then 2, finding something that makes sense for your budget, because if it doesn't make sense for your budget, it's not going to be sustainable. And if it's not sustainable, I'm not doing my job properly. If you call me in a few months because your car broke down and you want to cancel it, that's not going to be good for you, myself, or your family. So I want to make sure that it's completely comfortable. So please be transparent with me. Are we good there? And they say yes or no, or whatever they say. And then I'll say, cool. In order for me to see which one of these might approve you, is I'm going to ask a few minutes of some finance questions, some health questions, just to see which one of these are going to work. And then I might touch on, and then when I get into the suitability sheet, I want to find out too, if they are on a direct express card, if it's Social Security, or if they have a traditional bank. So I know this might help some people too. So whatever, they'll like go into that, and I'll start with I'll say, hey, are you cool with that? And they say, yes. And then I get my suitability sheet out. And then on there, we made a little client profile sheet on the back, on the back side here. And so I'll go into it. And then when I go into the suitability sheet, I don't make it super weird, and I don't start asking about their mortgage and stuff first. I'll go and I'll be like, okay, Mary, how old did you say you were? I'll write it down. Cool. Smoker, non-smoker, non-smoker. Awesome. So I know you said you're on disability, or you're still working part-time. So I'll ask what she does. She'll say whatever. Then I'll say, cool, what's your estimated monthly income? She's like, oh, $968. And I was like, is that just Social Security, or is that disability? What is it? And she's like, oh, it's just Social Security. I said, cool. Is that on the first or the third? Most of my clients, it's on the first. She's like, oh no, it's on the third. Cool. Now, is that on your Direct Express card or do you have a traditional bank account? So this is how I'm going to find that in order for me to go, because obviously with our carriers, 90% of them take bank accounts. So you don't want to show numbers. I did this a lot when I was new, showing numbers, and it wasn't, and now we can't because they have a card. So yeah,
But I
so
want
that's
that
kind of,
one. I want that You're like, me too. How's it feel to want? Let's
yeah.
move over here now. Sorry.
Exactly. And I think it's super important too, when you structure your appointment, to just tell them like, hey, even though I'm the underwriter, I don't make any final decisions. I'm kind of like the glorified middleman. I just got to make sure you're not in a hospital, you're not in the hospital, you're not in a wheelchair, and you're not at like 1,000 pounds. At the end of the day, the insurance carriers make that final decision, and they get back to us in a few business days, whether you're approved, declined, or they need more information. And then I'll say, does that make sense? They'll say, yeah. And then we kind of go from there. But I always, in the first few minutes, I'm going to identify if they're serious or not. And that's what's cool about booking a full day of appointments, because if you're sitting with John, who's not serious, you could leave. And I also make it very uncomfortable if they're not serious, where I also have your refusal of coverage here, and I read it out to them verbatim. I actually was training my new agent, and the wife called and made the appointment. He didn't know I was coming. And I'm chatting with him. I'm like, hey, I'm here for them. He's like, oh, I'm not interested. I'm like, hey, well, you have a family, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, how many kids do you have? He's like, 4 kids. Do you have insurance? Well, I think I do. My mom has something. I was like, your mom? Is it in your house? Is your policy in your house? He's like, no, I'm not sure. And then at the end of the day, I was really fighting for him to understand why it was important. And I was like, okay, dude, look, I'm not selling you anything. Your wife thought it was important, but you don't think it's important, but you guys have kids, you don't have coverage. So that's the only reason why I'm here. And I said, like, I see about 10 to 15 people like throughout the next 2 days. And so I'm only here because I need to make sure that I could go over this information with you. Okay. And then I'll even say, look, and then he wasn't serious. So I said, cool, I have to have you fill out this refusal of coverage form. Okay. Or I could get in trouble. I need to make sure that I legally went over all this information with you. And then I read out the whole thing to him. I won't even have him read it. I'll read it out. So I say, okay, you're declining coverage for yourself and your spouse. Oh, yeah, okay, perfect. And I say, so was your reason for the price, or you found a better offer, or other? And then he said, well, I don't know, other? I said, cool. Now, can you explain, what do you mean by other? And then I have him like uncomfortably explain why. And you don't have to be that extreme, but if I know someone doesn't have coverage and they have a family, I'm going to like put it all out on the table.
Did he put it on? How'd it work?
He still didn't want it, but I was there and I made
one out of 100, 1 out of 250 they're just jerks.
Yeah.
And you just pray for the wife and the kids and you move on, and you did your job.
And that's what's sad. The wife wanted it, and obviously he was the breadwinner too. It was a bad situation, but I tried to do everything I can. I have his number. I might call him and try again. I don't want to like give up, but then I also don't want to be too pushy. But that's what's awesome about this.
Those lessons are how it's like a look into someone else's life, and you go, I don't ever want to act like that. I don't want to be around people like that. I don't want to treat people like that. I empathize with the wife. I feel sorry for the children. And it's like, I mean, the big part of like dealing with in-person sales and dealing with people sales is it gives you a big vision on the way a lot of people in the world tick. Like we can all be in our bubble. You start selling a lot and work with only insurance people and deal with but the perspective into society that other people deal with, like someone tainted his mind to think, you know what, I don't want, like I had a client say, I don't want to make her rich when I die. I don't want them to be spoiled. It's like, dude, like you make $4,000 or, and she makes no money, or she makes 1,200. My always example is 4,200 at, working at the factory and 1,200 volunteering at the church. You die, she loses the house. Like what, this isn't about you. Like, and it's so hard to like break through those people sometimes, but it just gives you perspective on like either poor information or poor upbringing or poor relationships that he had growing up, that he's like, yeah, this doesn't make $80 to make sure that she doesn't live on the streets. Not worth it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I feel I remember sitting at home with a young man, 30, 31, 27, his cute little girlfriend, wife, and a little baby crying on the floor. And he's like, I don't want to make them rich. I'm like,
yeah, you have no words.
Okay. I don't want you to either. I just want them to not have to go move in with you know, her brother who you don't like, or her sister whose
Right.
husband you, I mean, I don't know, like what the
Or
dynamic.
find another husband. That's a
Terrible,
statistic. That's a
terrible.
statistic. Yeah.
Sorry, keep going. I got it. You got
No,
so
no, no.
covered.
That's so true. And you see that on a daily basis, but you're right. That's like one of the very few that happen. And
Yeah,
it was really important to the wife. And I was like, hey, I also don't want to get your wife in trouble. I mean, I just knew it was important to her
yeah,
because I didn't know that was a weird situation. And that's what's cool when you're in person, you get to read people. And I think I've gotten so good at like reading people, body language and stuff like that very quickly that even in home, when I go in there, I've learned this the hard way, obviously. Like, let's turn off the TV. Like, I can't hear you. Let's turn off the TV. If I'm talking about you something important with insurance and you're looking at your phone, I'll stop talking until you look at me. Cause I'm just like, I need to make sure you understand what I'm saying. And I'll be like, hey, any other questions that you have here? I want to make sure I'm explaining it to you. And then another thing too, when I like solidify the sale, and then making sure that they afford it, that's super important too. So I will like reiterate, this is comfortable for you. Are you sure? Like, are you sure this is comfortable? If this doesn't go through, I could get in trouble with the carrier. Okay. So I want to make sure, like, I'm not here to make a ton of money. I'm just here to make sure that it's comfortable for you and your family. So I'll say stuff like that. Another thing that I do too is like, let's say I close out the sale. I always make sure to take a selfie with the client on their phone. I will grab their phone. I will save my name in their phone. And it's funny because like I only have an iPhone, so I've learned a lot about Androids. It took me, they had to teach me about Androids. And so I would grab it and then I would put, Desiree Life Insurance, something really quirky, like nothing like my full name. I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna put Desiree Life Insurance Lady or Life Insurance. Is that good? Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, come here. We're gonna take a selfie. Boom, put it in their phone, call my phone, grab my phone, take a selfie on there, save their contact. On my notes, I'll put all their policy information, stuff like that. I'll wait till it's effective and put all that other information. And then I'm kind of like out of the house, but I also make sure that they know I'm going to be there for their family. So what's cool about being an in-person agent is like, hey, I want you to know, Mary, I'm local. I grew up just down the street over there. And if something happens to your family, I want them to know who I am. I want them to call me so they don't have to worry about it. Okay, I know that's important to you because if you were to call somebody over the phone that got you insurance, you don't know who your agent is. Like, look, I'm your agent for life. And I want you to also know when you talk to your family and friends, if they have policies, I could do a courtesy review for them. Because guess what? You're my client now. They book me out and I see about a ton of people a week, but I'll prioritize who you suggest and I'll put them on my calendar so I could sit with them. Okay, so you let your family and friends know. I'll do a bit of the beneficiary form, which is also on there. I just kind of have them write out their information and their emergency contacts. When they're doing this, it becomes a little bit more real when they're writing their names down, that it just helps. It just helps with the sale. So I'll have them fill this out as I'm writing quotes. So there's no dead silence. And then
that's the
I also,
ERS form. It's Emergency Response Network.
yes.
Yeah, it's a cool form. And there's information like that's on FFL America downloads. And below that is the exact word tracks. She says, oh, there's over $1 billion in life insurance. It goes unclaimed each year. And it teaches you how to actually use the form to get, one, solidify the sale, but two, get referrals.
Right. Right. And then I also, like I said, I use it as a tool when I'm when I'm doing underwriting and writing quotes. I don't want there to be a weird dead silence because I'm like actually thinking. So I'm like, hey, also, here's this form. I'm just required to get some of your emergency contact list. And I want your personal information out here. But Mary, I want you to know this is this document's super important to me because I'm not going to know if you die tomorrow. These people, they're going to know and they're going to call me. That's why I want to make sure I introduce myself to them so they know on the worst day of their lives that they can call me so they don't have to worry about it. Okay, so this is important. So go ahead and fill this out to the best of your knowledge and I can help you out with it if you need more help or whatever. And so I'll slide this to her and then now I'm underwriting and I'm like getting in there, I'm writing the numbers, and then as she wraps up that and I wrap up that. This is also on FFL America download, shout out Grady Paulson. And so before I show them any numbers, we want to talk about the value of life insurance. It's not a tangible sell, so you have to paint the picture. So I will literally read these bullet points off to the client. I'll say, hey, Mary, you probably know a little bit, but how much do you know about life insurance? So she'll be like, oh, I know a little bit. And then I was like, okay, cool. Well, basically there's two different types. There's term and then there's permanent. With term, it sounds just like it is. It's going to expire at some point, and you're 68. We don't want to look at anything like that. Depending on their age, I'll say whatever. And then she's like, oh no, I don't want that. And then I'm like, perfect. So what we're going to look at is permanent insurance, and it's called whole life. Just think of it as protecting you your whole life. Okay. She's like, oh, that's great. Cool. So this is what I'm going to do today. I can't guarantee anything, but I want you to know this is what I'm going to aim to. These are my objectives to get this kind of coverage for you. Okay. And then I'll read off all these bullet points. And then at the bottom, I'll say, hey, this is probably one of the most important things to my clients. They want something that's immediately effective if approved for coverage. So you know what that means, Mary? That means if we send this application out today, you get approved tomorrow and you pay your first premium payment. If you die the next minute, your family's going to get the coverage once you pay that first premium payment. So I kind of make it clear to them that it's prompt to like, let's get this approved and let's pay the first, premium payment whenever. Obviously, if they're on Social Security, you want to make sure it fits within their budget, because we do help a lot of people on fixed income. And that's another thing too, going back to like the dialing. If someone says, hey, I'm not interested. We train new people and like myself to say, cool, you're not interested because you couldn't qualify or it's too expensive. And someone says, oh, it's too expensive. Awesome. Well, I specialize in helping people with a lot of fixed income. I'm a medical field underwriter or work more on the medical side of things. Are you still at 123 Main Street? So that's something that we say a lot too. I think I covered pretty much most of everything in the in-home. You have any kind of questions you want me to go over?
Fantastic. I want to know, what do you say at the very, very end? Last 30 seconds. Is there anything you do specifically? Any word tracks you use? The actions you do to kind of solidify everything? Or is there, what are you doing on the way out the door?
Yeah. So I'm a hugger, so I'll hug them. Okay. I don't care if they smell like cigarettes. I don't care. I'm like, hey, I'm a hugger, and I'll like get in there and squeeze them. And then the folder that I do bring, I'll make sure I leave this with them. So I get this all off like Amazon. It's a big bulk of folders, different colors. And I'll make sure I write like life insurance and a summary page. And then I tell them, hey, keep this in your safe documents, of course. Also, what we're going to do is you're going to get that policy packet in the mail, and I'll explain that to them in the next 5 to 10 business days after you make your first premium payment, but keep this here for now. And I might slide my card in. And then I write the summary for them, and I think I hug them and I leave pretty much. I don't think I do anything different. Another thing too,
Paul McLean always would go, John, are you happy for the job I did for you today? And they'd go, yes, thank you. Yeah. And it forces a thank you at the very end, which kind of leaves at the highest moment of gratitude. That's and then good. Perfect. And then kind of leaves. And I started doing that. And I mean, it helps. Just a little extra, just like something to conclude with. Perfect.
Okay. No, I might include that in there too. And before I forget, with back to the suitability sheet on there, it talks about if you have a will. A lot of people have been liking this lately. A lot of like the clients that I sit with, I'm like, oh, do you have a will? They say no. I'm saying, awesome. There's a free resource online. It's just called www.doyourownwill.com. You can honestly generate it on there. And then this is how I also get the banking information too. So I'll be like, cool. So you don't have one, go to that website, print it out. Once you print it out, who do you bank with locally? And then they'll give me a name, Bank of America. Awesome. Well, you could take it there and get it notarized. I know my notary does it over at my bank over here around the corner. And then that'll also give me some insight to finding the banking, but also providing them like another resource, because they really like that stuff. Like I went in a home yesterday talking to the son. The mom runs around the corner. She's like, wait, what did you say that the name? I'm going to write that down. I need to go make my own will. So that's always nice too.
Yeah, being super helpful. So, I mean, tremendous job. I mean, your detail, your discipline, your focus, it's true. The people go, I mean, you said you went to convention 2021, right? So you've been here for a minute. You mean month 1, 2, 3, how many families did you protect?
Oh, I think by the 3rd, it was 15 months.
Okay. So, yeah. Getting started, slow and steady, compounding, right? That's the message here, guys. You see Des now, and she's polished and well-spoken because she's committed to this. And now she's reaping the harvest from the effort and seeds planted. This is where this is your goal, right? Your goal is to progress where you get so good that now she turns around and she's teaching others how to do the same thing. And she's moving from that employee quadrant to the business owner quadrant because she's creating her team that then she earns a small percentage off of, but they would easily trade to have someone with her high level skill set be teaching them how to do. And that's the thing, guys, that's the bigger goal. So I just love seeing how you meeting you more and more and watching you develop and go. And I'm excited to see what you do in the future. Any final words you wanted to talk about as we close this out?
Just that.
Ed and Tebow.
Oh, yes. Oh, perfect. Okay. So, a podcast I listened to recently, they were talking about the word passion or passionate. And it really led me to think, he said this really well. He was saying that if you think of the word passion, if someone says they're passionate, the root word of passion means to suffer, to sacrifice. Okay. So if you say you're passionate about something, and I'm saying this to anyone in commission-based sales that isn't in life insurance, that's wondering why they should transition over. If you're passionate about real estate, if you're passionate about solar and pest control and other stuff like that, are you willing to like sacrifice and suffer for it? Are you willing to? So it's like, I sat there and I was like, I need to redefine what I'm passionate about, because it hits really deep if you think about that root word. So don't, like, being passionate doesn't mean that you're just like excited and motivated and hyped. It's more than that. So when I talk about how passionate I am about helping people in their like worst time or just seeing people transform, I think Family First Life, or just the insurance industry with Family First Life, is the way to go in a very non-biased way. Like, I think I've transformed not only financially, but just my development as like a person, for sure. My characteristics, my standards, everything, meeting the most wonderful people here from all across the nation. So just when you sit there and you think about the word passionate, are you really passionate about something if you're not willing to sacrifice and suffer for it? I know I am. I'm dealing with the no-shows, the chargebacks. Are you sure you're passionate about this job if you can't handle all the bad that comes with it? So I just challenge everyone to rethink what they're passionate about. I'm here if you guys need anything. You can find me on social media or whatever. Get my information.
We'll put it on the bottom.
Okay, yeah. You want my Instagram, you said? Oh yeah, I'll put it over in the chat, and then or just search me on Instagram, Desiree Blas, and then I'm glad to help. Anything you guys need.
You're awesome, Desiree. Desiree, Desi, DB, Fireball Kitten, all of the appropriate things. But you're tremendous. Thank you so much for your time. Everyone, drop a 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 favorite emoji in the chat below to show her some love. She absolutely crushed it, and it's great to see what you're doing. It's there's the evolution of everything, and everything is getting better, everything's getting faster, and those that are capitalizing it with effort and energy are going to be the ones with the biggest bag at the end. So appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Grady.
See you soon. Bye for now.